Have you ever found yourself sitting at a family gathering, perhaps a birthday or a holiday dinner, surrounded by laughter and conversation, yet somehow feeling alone? You might be right there at the table, a soft smile on your face, a plate in front of you, but your words don't quite land the way they used to. Your suggestions are met with polite nods or brushed aside entirely. You listen more than you speak, not by choice, but because it feels like your voice has lost its place in the room. This feeling, this quiet ache of being overlooked, is something many seniors experience, but very few ever talk about out loud. And that's the thing, isn't it? Respect doesn't always disappear suddenly. It fades, like an old photograph. One moment it's vibrant, the next it's barely there. Take Irene, for example. She spent her whole life nurturing her family, raising 3 children while managing a home and a small home-based tailoring business. Now, in her 70s, she finds herself hesitating before speaking, unsure if anyone's really listening. Her advice is met with phrases like, "Times have changed, Mum," or "That's not how we do things anymore." And then there's Paul, an 80-year-old retired school principal who was once the go-to figure in his community and family. These days, his son insists on handling his finances to keep things simple, and decisions about holidays or home repairs are made without so much as a phone call. This is the silent struggle no one talks about, the slow erosion of respect in older age. And the truth is, it's not about being obeyed or admired like in the past. It's about being valued, being seen, being heard, being treated like a full person with a lifetime of experience and love to give. So if you've ever found yourself thinking, "Why don't they see me the same way anymore? Do my thoughts no longer matter?" Or even, "What happened to the respect I once had?" Let me gently reassure you, you are not alone, and more importantly, you are not powerless. Respect doesn't end with age, but in some families it needs to be gently reminded, reawakened, reclaimed, not through anger or confrontation, but through calm, confident actions that speak louder than words ever could. In this video, we'll explore 5 proven, heartfelt ways you can begin to stand tall again in your family. These are not tricks or tactics. These are grounded, wise practices, based on real experiences and backed by research, that help restore the respect you deserve, because no matter your age, you have a right to be heard. And here on The Elder Voice, we'll walk this path together with dignity, grace, and strength. So take a breath, lean in, let's begin. Let's begin with something that may feel unfamiliar at first, but is deeply powerful once you understand it: boundaries. Now, some might hear that word and think of walls, distance, or conflict. But in truth, healthy boundaries are not about shutting people out. They're about honoring yourself, your time, your needs, and your emotional well-being. It's easy, especially as parents or grandparents, to give endlessly, to offer advice even when it's not asked for, to be available at all times even when it leaves you feeling depleted. For decades, your role may have been to support, fix, or carry the load for others. But now, things are different. And that's not a bad thing. It's simply time for a new kind of strength. Take Alice, for instance. She's 68, recently widowed, and lives just a few blocks from her daughter Janet. At first, Alice was thrilled to help out with her grandchildren, school pickups, last-minute babysitting, grocery runs. She loved feeling needed. But over time, those favors turned into expectations. Janet would assume Alice was always available. Plans were made without asking. If Alice said she was tired or had something else planned, Janet would sound annoyed, or worse, disappointed. Alice didn't want to be unkind. She didn't want conflict, so she kept saying yes, even when her body said no. And the more she gave, the less she felt respected. Eventually, with gentle guidance from a support group, Alice began setting small, kind boundaries. She started saying, "Let me check my schedule," instead of immediately agreeing. She let Janet know that while she loves being involved, she also values time for her own life, her walking group, her reading, her quiet mornings. At first, Janet resisted, but over time something interesting happened. Respect returned. When Alice respected her own time, her daughter did too. Research supports this shift. According to a study published in the Journal of Aging and Family Studies, older adults who assert clear personal boundaries experience better emotional well-being and report stronger, more balanced family relationships. The key, of course, is in the tone. Boundaries don't have to come with bitterness. They don't have to be harsh or dramatic. They can sound like, "I love helping, but I need some time for myself this afternoon. Let's plan things together so I'm not caught off guard. I want to be there for you, but I also need space to rest." These words aren't selfish, they're self-respecting, and when you model that self-respect, others will follow your lead. You are not here to be used or forgotten. You are here to live fully, to give when you choose, and to receive the same care you've spent a lifetime offering. Boundaries are not about saying no to love. They're about saying yes to yourself. There's a quiet power in the way we speak, not just the words we choose, but the energy behind them. As we age, some of us begin to second-guess ourselves. We hesitate to share opinions or correct a loved one. We might whisper instead of speak clearly. We may avoid conflict, thinking it's not worth the trouble, or worse, they won't listen anyway. But here's the truth. Your voice still matters, and the way you use it can rebuild respect in powerful ways. Not by shouting, not by arguing, but by speaking with calm, steady authority. Let's talk about Paul again, the retired school principal we mentioned earlier. Paul was once known for his presence in a room. His students respected him, his colleagues admired him, and his family looked up to him. But in recent years, especially after moving in with his son's family, Paul began to feel he noticed how decisions were made around him, how people interrupted him more often, how his son would correct him in front of the grandchildren, even when it wasn't necessary. And so, Paul started staying quiet, not out of peace, but out of fear of being dismissed. One evening during a family discussion about a vacation, Paul calmly cleared his throat and said, "I'd like to be included in this conversation. I may be older, but I'm still a part of this family, and I have something to say." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse anyone. He simply spoke, clearly, firmly, and with dignity. And just like that, the room paused. People listened, not because he demanded attention, but because he claimed his space with grace. This is what calm authority looks like. According to communication experts at the University of Michigan's Institute for Social Research, older adults who use what's called assertive but respectful communication are more likely to be heard and included in decision-making, especially within multi-generational households. What does that sound like in practice? I'd like to share a thought, if that's okay. I have some experience with this that might be helpful. Please let me finish my point before we move on. Notice the tone. It's not defensive, it's not aggressive, it's steady, grounded, clear. This doesn't mean every conversation will go perfectly, but it sets a tone, a new expectation, that your voice is not optional, it's essential. When you speak from a place of calm authority, you're not asking for permission to be respected. You're reminding others that you already deserve it, and sometimes that gentle reminder is all it takes. One of the deepest desires we carry into older age is to remain connected, to stay close to our children, to feel involved in their lives, and to know we haven't been left behind. But sometimes, instead of feeling close, we feel a distance growing. And more often than not, that distance is made of little things. Subtle remarks, misunderstood intentions, generational gaps, or even different values. It's easy, especially when you've lived through so much, to look at the choices your children or grandchildren make and think, "That's not how I was raised," or "They're doing it all wrong." You may feel tempted to correct them, to point out their mistakes, to guide them the way you once did, with the wisdom that life has given you. But here's where things get tricky, because what feels like guidance from your end may be heard as criticism on theirs. Let me share a story of Irene again. Remember her? One afternoon, her granddaughter Emily visited with her new boyfriend. Irene was polite, but reserved. Later, she told her daughter, "He's not very respectful. Didn't even make eye contact with me." Her daughter, already feeling protective, snapped back, "Mum, you're always judging people. That's why Emily doesn't come around as much." It hurt deeply. Irene wasn't trying to be critical. She was trying to express concern, but her approach closed the door instead of opening it. Later, after some reflection, Irene decided to try something new. The next time Emily visited, she asked simple questions. "What kind of music do you two listen to these days? How did you two meet? What do you enjoy doing together?" Instead of judging, she got curious. And something shifted. Emily relaxed. She laughed. She started sharing more. That visit was longer than the last 3 combined. This is the heart of reconnecting, curiosity instead of criticism. According to family therapist Dr. Jeanette Raymond, showing interest in your loved ones' lives without offering immediate judgment builds emotional safety, especially between generations. When your children or grandchildren feel safe with you, they begin to open up. And through that opening, respect naturally returns. Here are a few phrases you can use. "I'd love to understand more about what you're doing these days. Tell me what matters to you right now. Help me see things from your side." These simple invitations carry enormous power. They say, "I care more about knowing you than correcting you." That, my friend, is the kind of love that rebuilds bridges. And where there is connection, there is always room for respect to grow again. There's something many older adults don't say out loud, but feel deeply. "I don't want to be a burden." It's such a quiet fear that it can shape your behavior without you even realizing it. You start saying yes more often than you want to. You offer help when you're exhausted. You laugh off hurtful comments to keep the peace. You minimize your own needs just to avoid making things harder for your family. And slowly, without meaning to, you begin to trade your dignity for a false sense of harmony. But here's the truth. You are not here to please others at the cost of your self-worth. You are here to live fully, to grow, to give, and most importantly, to continue discovering your own purpose at any age. Let me introduce you to Saeed. He's 72 and spent his life as an engineer. After retiring, he found himself slipping into the background. His grown children were busy. His wife had passed years earlier. and his days felt dull. He thought, if I just stay useful, maybe they'll keep me close. So he offered to run errands, babysit, lend money, anything to feel needed. But he noticed something strange. The more he gave, the less appreciated he felt. His children rarely said thank you. They assumed his help, and worst of all, they didn't ask how he was doing. One day he had enough. Saeed signed up for a part-time mentoring program for young engineers in the city. He started attending weekend cultural events. He even began writing articles for a local newsletter about aging with purpose. And you know what happened? His kids began calling, not for favors, but just to talk. They asked about his writing. They began to see him not just as a helper, but as a whole person with a meaningful life of his own. You see, when you center your life around pleasing others, you lose visibility. But when you center it around purpose, you gain dignity. And with that comes a deeper respect. Psychologists have found that older adults who engage in activities that align with their personal values, whether it's volunteering, gardening, spiritual study, or even creative hobbies, experience a significant boost in self-esteem, which in turn changes how others treat them. Because when you carry yourself with purpose, you naturally command respect. You don't have to ask for it, you become it. What makes me feel alive? Where do I feel most like myself? How can I spend my time in ways that honor who I am? Protecting your dignity starts here, not in sacrifice, but in self-honoring, because you've earned the right to live with pride, not permission. And the people who truly love you will rise to meet that strength. So let's take a breath together and think about everything we've explored. If you've felt invisible lately, or like your voice is softer than it used to be, not because you're weak, but because the world seems to move too fast, please know this. Your worth has not faded, your dignity has not expired, and your presence still matters deeply. Respect doesn't magically appear, but it also doesn't disappear within ourselves, first, and then in the hearts of those around us, and then in the hearts of those around us. Maybe you saw a little of yourself in Irene, gently shifting from judgment to curiosity, or in Alice, learning that saying no is actually a way to say yes to yourself. Perhaps you felt inspired by Paul's quiet strength when he found his voice again, or by Saeed, who reconnected with his sense of purpose. These stories aren't just examples. They're reminders that it's never too late to shift the way you show up in your family, in your relationships, and in your own life. So here's what I'd love for you to remember today. Set boundaries that protect your time and peace. Speak clearly with calm and dignity even when it feels hard. Reconnect by asking, not judging. Find your purpose and let it guide how others see you. And above all, carry yourself with quiet confidence, because your story still teaches, your presence still matters, and your love still leads. The road to reclaiming respect in later life isn't about forcing others to see you differently. It's about showing up as the fullest version of yourself and letting that speak louder than anything else. So, my dear friend, take this moment to reflect. Where in your life are you still playing small to keep the peace? Where can you stand just a little taller, a little truer? You've given love for decades. Now it's time to receive it back with dignity, clarity, and strength. If this message spoke to your heart, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced moments when you felt overlooked? How did you handle them? Your story might just help someone else find their voice again. And if you're new to this channel, The Elder Voice, consider subscribing. This is a space where we honor aging, not as decline, but as a new chapter of wisdom, power, and deep connection. Because respect doesn't end with age, evolves with us, and together we stand tall.